Hello everyone, this is Hyperactive, and today I'm going to talk about Beenox Spider-Man games, and see if the disappointing Amazing Spider-Man 2 game was their fault or not. As always, we're going to start with Beenox history first. Beenox was founded in the year 2000, but they didn't start working for Activision until 2007. Their first game was back in 2001, was Pillars of Garandal, which is a very unknown game that never saw the light of day due to Cold Stone game engines causing a lot of problems. The first actual game they published for Activision was the B-Movie game. It was an overall mixed reviewed game. The main criticism that people had with it is that it was basically made of mini games, those mini games that were repetitive, and some thought the controls were a bit sloppy. However, the game did have big open levels to explore and find collectibles, and mini games were kind of fun as well, but got repetitive over time. Next game was also a movie licensed game called Monsters vs. Aliens, released in 2009. The game was also mixed reviewed for the same reason as the B-Movie. The game got repetitive, but makes up for tons of collectibles. In the same year, they released another game called Guitar Hero Smash Hits. The game was actually more positively reviewed. Mostly it got 7s and 8s because it was like the other Guitar Hero games that had more modes, songs, and you can play it with the 3 other friends with different instruments. Now, over the years, Beenox has ported over mini games for the PC, a couple of them being Spider-Man games. Spider-Man 3, and Spider-Man Friend or Foe, Ultimate Spider-Man. Finally, in 2010, they created the first actual Spider-Man game called Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions was actually a really well received game. The game acted like an arcade beat 'em up. It has great comic book like graphics, fun gameplay, excellent voice acting.
I swing around long enough, and my new upgraded spider sense points me towards a fragment.
The 4 Spider-Man felt different. The boss fights were fantastic. However, the game was criticized for having a loose plot, and it did have technical problems. 1 year later, they came out with Spider-Man Edge of Time, and this game was very well mixed. The major criticisms were that the game got really repetitive, the combat was button mashing, Spider-Man 2099's levels were bland and samey looking, has very little boss fights, and didn't quite live up to the whole past affects the future idea. However, the game was praised for its funny dialogue.
We've been a lot of things to each other, Eddie, but you've never been anyone's patsy.
Oh, good. Stand there and call them names. Great plan. Should keep myself scarce.
And the plot wasn't actually too bad. So what happened to Spider-Man Edge of Time? Well, Beenox started working on Spider-Man Edge of Time immediately after Shattered Dimensions, because Activision won another Spider-Man game by next year. This will most likely lead to the game feel rushed and repetitive due to the lack of time between the 2 games. Not enough time to come up with anything really new or fully fleshed out for their game mechanics. Literally 8 months later, they published the Amazing Spider-Man movie game, and I'm surprised it came out decent. The game was well received, mostly receiving 7s, but it was no Spider-Man 2 though. Amazing Spider-Man plays very similar to the Arkham combat. There is tons of comic books to collect in the open world. Web Rush was a cool idea. The web slinging wasn't too bad. Graphics were actually decent, and of course Spider-Man's dialogue was funny. However, the game was criticized for having bland levels, repetitive side missions, and an okay story that you would forget the next day. And also, the game was way too easy on normal difficulty. Even on hard, the game was too easy. So, why did the Amazing Spider-Man came out better than Edge of Time, even though they had less time to develop the Amazing Spider-Man game? Well, given only literally 8 months to make the game, they had to come up with an easy combat that they can quickly do. so they can attend to the open world and make sure there's plenty of costumes, collectibles, and they didn't exactly make the webs attached to anything, so they didn't really have to worry about that either. With the idea that Beenox managed to make a decent Spider-Man game in 8 months, you would think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 would be much better, especially with the 2 years different. In 2014, the game came out worse. It was super repetitive, the webs didn't really attach to the buildings, there's no momentum behind the web swinging, the plot was all over the place, boss fights are repetitive, the hero minute system was really annoying, side missions are repetitive, the game was very glitchy, and it looked like Spider-Man 3 game. I am not kidding about that. So what happened then? I'll tell you what happened, and it's not Beenox's fault. Well, kind of. The main problem was that Activision got greedy and gave Beenox a very low budget, and it shows from the rush time and terrible graphics. Honestly, this game has plenty of potential. The web slinging idea was kind of cool, but not fully developed. Stealth in the game has much improved. The spider sense was cool to use. Car chases and burning beams was cool at first, but needed more variations. And the hero menace idea needed more work because it did look like it was going to affect the story, evident from the game trailer, black and white webbing. And the boss fight ideas were cool. Just look at the fight between the Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Don't tell me that doesn't look cool. The game has plenty of good ideas, just like their other licensed games, but weren't given enough time and budget to fully develop their ideas. I honestly think if Beenox was given a year and a half to develop an open world Spider-Man game, it would have been an awesome Spider-Man game that could replace Spider-Man 2. Well, that's all just my thoughts, and as always, I'll end my video with a question for you guys to discuss down below. And if you like hearing my thoughts and ideas and commentary on games, why not hit the subscribe button and like the video as well. Okay, do you guys think Beenox should get another chance at a Spider-Man game if they had a bigger budget and time? Or would you prefer some other team to make it, like Sucker Punch or Rocksteady? See ya!